Greetings collectors and welcome to today's retro game review. If you've been a viewer of the channel for a while, you'll know that I have a soft spot for Japanese games, particularly those that don't always get much exposure here in Europe and the US. Today I'm unearthing one such game, known internationally as Ragnagard, but Shin-Oh-Ken in Japan. Prepare to meet your new guilty pleasure fighting game as we explore Ragnagard for the Sega Saturn. Released in 1996, Ragnagard was an exclusive to the Japanese Sega Saturn. Sadly, the US and Europe never received this title, which means it has taken quite a while for the Western gamers to enjoy this delightful game. Those of you in the know will have stumbled upon the game before on the Neo Geo hardware, under the original title, Operation Ragnagard. The Neo Geo release is technically the original. However, the Sega Saturn edition contains extended modes and a few graphical enhancements. As you might guess from the footage, this is yet another one of those reasonably obscure fighting games that the Japanese Sega Saturn loved so much. What drew me to this title was the SNK developer credit. With games such as King of Fighters' pedigree behind them, I was surprised I'd never actually heard of this game. The premise of the game is rather a classic formula. Each fighter has a backstory and motivation to fight the others, and the winner ultimately restores peace to their respective kingdoms. This culminates in an end-of-game battle against Lucifer. There's a varied group of fighters to choose from the cute Japanese girls right through to the mystic fighters. Instantly, you will notice the aesthetic of Ragnagard. It puts me very much in mind of Killer Instinct. The character sprites are pre-rendered in the same way from 3D computer models. They are then captured and reanimated into what we see in the game. The stages are all packed full of detail and really vibrant. They may not all be as pretty as the King of Fighters series, but they give just as much impact. As a player, I really got the sense that I was fighting in a really decent set of varied locations. As for the music, well, it's just epic on every level. The tracks in game are some of the best I've heard outside of the mainstream fighting games. Each fighting stage is given its own personality by the compositions, and it fits really tightly together to make an overall impact. Back to the gameplay though. As with games such as Killer Instinct and King of Fighters, there is a heavy reliance on combos and special moves. Each fighter in the game is a representation of a Shinto deity. I've chosen the goddess Sina for this playthrough. Her special area of interest are all things sea related, a bit like a really kick-ass King Triton. Ragnagard wouldn't be an SNK fighting game without a fighting mechanic though. In this case, it's the way you power up your fighter. Typically in SNK games, you build up a power meter either by landing a hit successfully or defending an attack. It's all change in Ragnagard though. To charge up your fighter, you simply use the shoulder buttons on the pad. This feature can be used at any time, but does leave you open to attacks whilst doing so. If you manage to power yourself up to a full meter though, you gain access to your special moveset, so there's a real incentive to try and charge that meter. Once you have a fully charged meter, it's time to go on the attack. The game has numerous special moves which are all delightfully animated and accompanied with hard-hitting sound effects. As mentioned earlier, the game really impresses with its final battle against Lucifer. It just seems like a big occasion. The music swells, the bass deepens, and the action becomes really frantic. So, why is it, you might ask, that I mentioned earlier that this game is one of my guilty pleasures? Well, that comes down to how deep the gameplay goes. When you play games such as Street Fighter, and particularly games such as King of Fighters, you really have to invest yourself. It's okay to spam a few punches in those games, but you will be found out by human players fairly quickly. Ragnagard does lack some of the gameplay depth of these other games. In that sense, it's very similar to another of my guilty pleasures on the system, Battle Monsters. If you are playing on the easier levels, you will be able to complete this game with little challenge and no need to learn the advanced tactics. So in a sense, the game really puts the emphasis on fun and a good old-fashioned punch-up, rather than any high level of technical skill. This suits me just fine though. For a highly entertaining battle, I'm more than happy with what's on offer here. It's not typical SNK, but what is here is most definitely fun. In terms of packaging, the CD jewel case is nothing too special. For a full complement, you will need to collect the registration card along with a spine card. The full colour manual is rather appealing and gives you a full list of movesets and the background stories to your characters. As this is a Japanese exclusive, you will either have to import this from Japan yourself or find a local reseller. Here in the UK, the current rate is around £10 for this game. However, I would have been happy to pay more. I very much got my money's worth out of my purchase. By importing directly from Japan myself, I actually only paid a few dollars for this game. For the US market, I'd suggest paying no more than $15. It is well worth the investment in my opinion though. Ragnagard does seem to be the gift that keeps on giving. Not only does the CD have a great 24-track soundtrack, it also contains a folder called Presents. Inside you will find a complete set of concept character art. I may be a bit of a geek in saying this, but I've always appreciated any hidden Easter eggs from game developers. It's just that extra little bit of effort from the developers to share something additional with you, and I'm all for it. My final verdict on Ragnagard is that it's such a shame that it isn't more widely known about. It certainly lacks the finesse of mainstream fighters, but what it lacks in depth, it more than makes up for in all-out action and fun. Ragnagard is just one of those games that makes me smile. Just boot it up, power up your fighter, and take part in one of the most satisfying retro rumble events you've experienced in years. I can't show you everything in the game, but here are some highlights to play us out. Hello again, I hope you enjoyed today's show and thank you for the view. Remember, you can always comment, like, subscribe and find us on the social media sites below. Happy collecting!